Several years ago, I got married, and with my husband came my sister-in-law, Sophia. I hoped we could get along well, but it felt like I was the only one who wanted that. Sophia didn't seem interested in getting closer to me. Instead, she often acted like she was better than me and only cared about my money. One day, Sophia's true feelings came out during a phone call. She said coldly, "If you're looking for your bank book, forget it. I have it." "Why are you surprised? Isn't your money basically mine too? So even if I spend it all, it shouldn't be a problem." I was frustrated and replied, "My money is mine. It's not yours." She just laughed and said, "Do you really believe that? That's funny." Since that incident, I believed that making peace with Sophia was impossible, and I started thinking of ways to get back at her. When I was ready to put my plan into action, my sister-in-law smugly said, "Once you marry into our family, isn't it natural to think everything you have now belongs to the family?" I was shocked and could only mumble, "That's not true." Actually, I had already bought a new car using the money from the bank account. Instead of withdrawing a large amount at once, which would raise suspicions, I carefully withdrew $3,000 multiple times using an ATM. There was no money left in the account, so Sophia could forget about it. Sophia laughed loudly, clearly feeling victorious. Seeing her in such a good mood, I decided to strike back. "Then I'll give up on the bank book and the money inside it, as you say." "What are you talking about?" she asked, confused. "You told me earlier to forget about the bank book and the money, right?" "Yes, I did. But you're the one who needs to let go. Can you guess why?" "Isn't it obvious? The bank book is in your name. Have you checked whose name is on it?" "Of course it was kept on a shelf in your house, so it must be in your name," Sophia said, sounding irritated. But I didn't back down. Her slip of the tongue was a big advantage for me now. "Sister-in-law, it seems you misunderstood something." Then I started to explain everything slowly and carefully to Sophia. "My name is Emma. Let me take you back to when I married my husband, Lucas. His family runs a metal processing business. His dad is the boss, and his mom handles office work. Lucas works hard as an employee there. It's a pretty big company with many talented people, including Lucas. I really want to support his family's business, but in the midst of all this, I noticed my mother-in-law looking exhausted. I started to wonder if the office workload was overwhelming her. So I decided to ask her directly about her health and how things were going at work. "Mom, are you okay? You seem tired." "Thank you for asking. Actually, 2 of our office staff recently quit, so I've been handling most of the work by myself," she replied. "Wow, that sounds really tough, managing everything alone," I exclaimed, surprised by the workload. As my mother-in-law explained in detail, I learned that the 2 staff members had left because they got married, and finding new people to hire was proving difficult. There also wasn't a clear plan for hiring new staff. So I decided to offer a suggestion. I have experience in administrative work. If there's any way I can help, even a little bit, I'd be happy to support. My mother-in-law's face lit up. "That would be incredibly helpful. And don't worry, we'll make sure to compensate you fairly. Thank you so much in advance." After that conversation, I started playing a more active role in my father-in-law's company. My experience in administration came in handy, and my father-in-law was grateful for my help. My husband, Lucas, was always looking out for me. He made sure I wasn't feeling too stressed balancing work and household chores. "You only have to help until we hire a new clerk. I don't want you to overwork yourself," Lucas said one day. "Thank you, Lucas, but I get along well with your mom, and compared to my previous job, the environment here is much better. So I don't plan on quitting anytime soon," I replied. Lucas respected my decision. Then, one day, my mother-in-law suddenly exclaimed, "Oh, I completely forgot to go to the post office." "That's worrying. Would you like me to go for you?" I offered kindly, and a smile brightened her face. "No need, Emma. I was planning to do some shopping anyway, so I'll go," she said, rushing off. In the short time she was gone, it felt almost planned when my sister-in-law showed up at the office. "Hey, Emma, long time no see." Sophia's voice sounded friendly. "Sophia, did you need something?" "Actually, I was just passing by and thought I'd say hi," Sophia said with a sweet smile. "I've heard rumors that she's currently working in a restaurant since she doesn't have a full-time job. But I didn't know the details about her current situation. As I was considering asking Sophia about it, She suddenly turned to me. Emma, I'm curious. Are you getting paid for working here? Yes, I do get paid for the administrative work I do, but it's not a lot. I initially wanted to help out without any payment, considering my role in the family. However, my father-in-law suggested that officially hiring me and paying a salary would be better for tax and management reasons, so I went along with it. But the salary I receive is just the minimum for someone new in an admin role, so it's not much. I wasn't sure how much Sophia knew about my salary, but from her attitude, it seemed like she was expecting something. In that case, could you share some of it with me? Sophia asked. Surprised, I asked, do you mean borrow money? That's not what I meant. I want you to give me part of your salary, Sophia demanded. Give you part of my salary? I don't understand. Why would I do that? I replied, trying to understand her intentions. Don't make me repeat myself. Just give it to me now, Sophia insisted, her expression turning serious as she approached me. Then she noticed a small safe on the table. It's in there, isn't it? She asked, reaching for the safe. Panicked, I blurted out, wait, that contains important funds for the company. Company funds? But this is our father's company, right? So technically, that money belongs to him. There shouldn't be a problem with me borrowing some of it, Sophia argued back. But that wasn't the point. I tried to stop her, but Sophia was determined. In the end, she forced open the safe and took out some bills. I'll be taking this, she said. Give it back. How will I explain this to everyone? I pleaded. That's your problem. You'll figure it out. Goodbye, Sophia said, whistling as she left. I stood there in shock, watching her go. I wasn't sure how much she took, but it didn't seem like a lot. I needed to check what was left. I looked at the ledger and then checked the safe. I was short $170. Sophia had taken two $50 bills and three $10 bills. My heart raced as I checked my wallet, but there were only a few $5 bills. This isn't nearly enough. What do I do? I felt frustrated and desperate. I thought about telling my mother-in-law the truth, but I hesitated because of the potential backlash from Sophia. Fear of revenge stopped me from confessing. With no solutions in sight, my mother-in-law returned from shopping. I'm back, Emma. You look upset. Is everything all right? She asked, showing concern for me. Mother-in-law, there's something I need to tell you. I started preparing myself to reveal what happened. You don't need to apologize. Sophia has caused trouble before. Dealing with her has been tough. I'm sorry she put you through this. I'd appreciate it if the money Sophia took could be deducted from my salary, I said. Don't worry about it. I'll handle it as her mother, but I have a small request for you. She asked me to record Sophia's voice next time she came to the office. The method was simple. Use a smartphone or digital recorder to capture the atmosphere and conversation. But why do we need to record her? I asked. Sophia is an adult now. I believe she needs to face proper consequences for what she did, my mother-in-law said. Indeed, that's true. But to make sure she doesn't repeat her mistakes, we need to show her the significance and impact of her actions. I agreed. After our conversation, I decided to always wear a voice recorder. A week later, while my mother-in-law was out, Sophia showed up at the office again. Hey, how's it going, Emma? She greeted me. Why are you here again? I asked nervously, discreetly starting the voice recorder. I'm a bit short on cash right now, so I thought I'd borrow some from you, she said. I'm definitely not lending you any money, I replied firmly. Why? You lent it to me before, didn't you? Sophia argued. That was you taking it without permission, I reminded her. But you managed to cover for it later, didn't you? She countered. I couldn't admit that I had informed my mother-in-law about what happened. If I did, Sophia would likely leave immediately, and I wouldn't be able to gather the evidence my mother-in-law requested. Thinking carefully about my response, I said, You found a way to fix the situation, didn't you? Can you lend me some money today? That's not possible, I replied firmly. You married into this family, right? As a daughter-in-law, can you go against your in-laws' wishes? Sophia's argument surprised me with its irrationality. Enough with the excuses. Give me the key to the safe. Sophia slammed the desk in anger. Just then, I heard my mother-in-law's footsteps approaching from outside. What are you doing, Sophia? My mother-in-law's voice startled Sophia. Oh, Mom. You haven't found a proper job, and now you're asking for money from your sister-in-law. Aren't you even a bit ashamed? Well. What exactly are you thinking, Sophia? Quit bothering me. I may not have a full-time job, but I'm working part-time and managing just fine. At your age, still relying on part-time work? Aren't you embarrassed? Your friends have careers, families, and you're still. It's my life, and I'll live it how I want. And I have a great partner. Sophia interrupted, clearly agitated, before storming out of the room. After she left, I felt relieved. Mother-in-law, I appreciate your understanding, I said sincerely. Don't worry. Now that Sophia knows, she must be feeling some regret. My mother-in-law reassured me with a smile. But despite her reassurance, I still felt anxious. I was worried that Sophia might return with more demands. One day, when I visited my mother-in-law's house, she showed me a piece of paper. I got an invitation to Sophia's wedding recently, she said. It was indeed a wedding invitation. The groom's name was Leo. I didn't recognize the name, but my mother-in-law seemed to know him and looked somewhat worried. Leo is actually the son of the factory manager, she explained. Huh, he's the factory manager's son. That's unexpected, I said. The factory manager was someone my father-in-law had worked closely with and highly respected. Is the factory manager discussing anything specific about his son's marriage? I asked. Well, it turns out the factory manager had no idea about the marriage and was genuinely surprised when we told him, my mother-in-law explained. I see. Well, since it's already happened, I suppose we should accept it with a congratulatory spirit. There's no point in opposing it now, my mother-in-law said, her expression already accepting the situation. After the wedding, my sister-in-law proudly told my mother-in-law, see, I did find a proper groom. Congratulations, Sophia, my mother-in-law said with a smile. Are you relieved now? More importantly, what are your plans for your new life together? What's your plan for the future? When my mother-in-law asked this with a serious expression, my sister-in-law seemed to be at a loss for words. Have you decided on a new place to live yet? My mother-in-law asked. That's something we'll think about in the future, Sophia replied vaguely. I thought as much. For now, you should start by living in our apartment. We're planning to move to a new place, so you can have this house. Consider it our final support for you. If you need to, find part-time jobs and support yourself. My mother-in-law said. All right, I understand, Sophia replied, looking displeased. I was surprised by her attitude. She should have been grateful for the house she received. Most of all, I felt sorry for my mother-in-law, who seemed pained and hurt. My husband, Lucas, seemed to feel the same way and quickly suggested something to my mother-in-law. If that's the case, why don't you come live with us? Lucas asked. It's okay. I've already discussed and decided on our new residence with your father, my mother-in-law replied. Are you sure that's fine? Well, just until we move into the new house, can we leave some of our belongings at your place? Lucas asked. Of course that's fine, my mother-in-law replied, which made me feel relieved. I thought once my sister-in-law got married, everything would be calm. But problems started soon after she moved into her new home. The day after they moved in, my mother-in-law called us early in the morning while we were getting ready for work. Why are you calling so early, Mom? Is everything okay? Emma, I hate to bother you, but I need to ask something. Is Sophia with you? My parents-in-law plan to take a short break from their house and stay in a hotel for a few days. During this time, my sister-in-law and her husband were supposed to move into their house. Some of the furniture and stuff from there were temporarily stored in our house. My mother-in-law was worried about how things were going for her daughter, so she decided to visit their house that morning to check. But when she got there, she couldn't find any sign of her daughter or her husband. Since they helped move some stuff from our house to yours yesterday, I thought they might be staying with you. No, they came back home. Then where could they be? Maybe they went on their honeymoon. That's possible. If you find out anything, please tell me. After that, she hung up. Later, I told my husband what happened, but he didn't know anything either. I didn't think I needed to do anything else. So I decided to wait quietly for my sister-in-law to contact us. But as days passed, not hearing from her became worrying. My mother-in-law started thinking about reporting her as missing to the police. While we were discussing this in the living room, she suddenly said, I'll go get the bank book for a moment. Why? I want to withdraw some money just in case. If we have to search for them, there might be expenses, she said, sounding worried. I understood her thinking ahead and stayed quiet in the room. Suddenly, I heard her shocked voice from the next room. What? I can't find the bank book. My husband Lucas and I rushed to the adjacent room. Inside, my mother-in-law looked flustered in front of a shelf. Did you keep your bank book here? I asked, and she nodded rapidly, confused. Isn't this the shelf we moved last time? I remembered that we moved things from her house in 2 stages. First, the day after my sister-in-law's wedding, and then just a few days later, before she disappeared. The shelf in question was from the first move, but neither my husband nor I remembered touching it. Neither of us touched or checked that shelf. But are you sure you left it here? My husband's doubt annoyed her, and they started arguing. I stood there confused, watching them, when suddenly my phone rang. The unexpected call in this tense situation startled me. Reluctantly answering the phone, I asked, "What's wrong? You sound upset." It was my sister-in-law. Hearing her voice surprised me. Raising a hand to interrupt the argument, I said, "Sis, is that really you?" Both Lucas and my mother-in-law stopped arguing, turning to me with surprise. Turning back to the phone, I asked again, "It is you, right?" My sister-in-law's answer was short and annoyed. Who else would it be? "Where are you? We've been really worried about you." But my sister-in-law brushed off the question, saying, "It doesn't matter where I am. I have something to ask." From our conversation, it seemed she took the bank book and used the money to buy a car. That money belonged to me, she even said outright. Angry at her selfish comments, I told her everything that had happened. Mom's bank book is missing, and it's causing a lot of trouble. What? Mom's bank book is missing. Sophia sounded genuinely surprised. Whose name is on the bank book you have? Is it under my name? Just a moment. I could hear her rummaging through things on the other end. She probably mistook my bank book for my mother-in-law's. But my mother-in-law hadn't spent much recently and hadn't realized it was missing. It had been over a week since Sophia took the bank book, so the money inside was probably already spent. After a while, a flustered voice said, "Wait, is this Mom's bank book?" I knew it, I said quietly. Suddenly, my phone was snatched from my hand. My mother-in-law looked angry as she held my phone firmly. "Sophia, I've heard everything." "What? Mom, why?" "I was worried about you. Then I got a call from you. But how did you hear my conversation?" "Because Emma had her phone on speaker. I had put the phone on speaker so my husband and mother-in-law could hear what Sophia was saying. They heard everything, including that she used my bank book to buy a car." "What were you thinking? That's so irresponsible." My mother-in-law's voice filled the room. Sophia apologized, sounding regretful. "I'm really sorry. Using company funds without permission and taking someone's bank book. I messed up. Please forgive me. I'll be more careful from now on." "It's too late for that. Come home now and explain." "Yes, I understand." Sophia's shocked voice was interrupted by a loud thud from the background. "Hey, Sophia, are you okay?" my mother-in-law asked, but there was no reply. After a moment, Sophia's frantic voice came back. "Help me at the convenience store parking lot." Then the call ended suddenly. We could guess what happened. Sophia might have hit the gas instead of the brake and driven the car into the store while on the call. Soon after, the police reported that Sophia's car crashed into the store. Both Sophia and her husband were in the car. Luckily, they weren't seriously hurt, but the aftermath was messy. It turned out Sophia didn't have car insurance, so they had to pay for all the repairs themselves. My in-laws were furious. They went to get Sophia right away. Sophia's husband's parents were also angry, especially his father, who manages a factory. He scolded Sophia harshly, saying, "Just because you're part of this family now, do you think everything should be handed to you?" Those were the same words Sophia used with me. Just telling my mother-in-law wasn't the end of my plan. I made sure Sophia's father-in-law, the manager, heard a recording of the conversation too. With Sophia's own words on record, she couldn't deny anything. The manager was even tougher on them. He ordered Sophia and her husband, "Since you're broke, you'll work for me and hand over your earnings." After that, they had no choice but to work at the factory under strict supervision. It was the best option financially. My in-laws kept a close eye on them, both at work and at home. They worked all day and lived under scrutiny afterward. Feeling overwhelmed, Sophia eventually approached me at the factory, crying, asking for help. "I'll do anything. Please forgive me." "Anything? Then work sincerely and pay back what you took from us." Seeing Sophia so desperate, breaking down in front of me, was unexpected. Her state showed how worn out she was mentally. It's a moment I won't forget. Part of me thought, you deserve this, but seeing her like that, I felt a twinge of sympathy, but she brought it on herself. Changing the subject, my life took a big turn shortly after. I decided to quit my job. I heard they were hiring new staff, and I found out I was pregnant. I want to focus on my new life with my baby and make sure I get enough rest.